Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I started working with you is like I've shared, is just because I was ready for a change. So I think even at that point I was so frustrated and burnt out, I think if I would have just stayed in that place, I can't even imagine. Like, I don't even want to think about it because, it was, I had my moments where I was okay, but there were a lot of moments that I wasn't. And again, I just kept repeating the same patterns. So, there were some very, very destructive patterns that I was in, like really bad. And I think if I hadn't started, I probably would have just continued that. It would have gotten into more destructive patterns for sure. So, yeah, I definitely think that all, working with you in the coaching and the learning and the growing about all, relationships and about myself in general, was so helpful. And like I said, it wasn't a quick fix, but it definitely, I can look, if I were to look back and say, well, what would have been without all that? Like, definitely see a difference for sure. A lot of pain. I felt like I was working so hard, like harder than anybody I know. It's like nobody reads relationship books. Nobody sits here and watches hours of YouTube, does coaching. Like, nobody does all these things, and yet they're all in relationships doing just fine. And the person that's putting in 110%, and like you said, trying to follow everybody's exact direction of what I should be doing. Okay, go out. Okay, stay in. Okay, be vulnerable, but don't be too vulnerable. Like, all these things I was trying to keep up with and do, and I'm like, I'm still not getting the results. So I remember feeling very frustrated, like, what am I doing wrong, or what's wrong with me? Like, what am I missing? I just felt like it seemed so easy for everybody else. Like, what am I missing? It's easy to look at people that are like super outgoing and be like, oh, it's so easy for them. They can just like walk into a room and attract all these people. That is not me. Like, all of this has taken a lot of work for me. So, but to know that, like, that has its qualities too. And like, being an introvert is who I am. And, that's going to attract the right person, like that practical, like, things that we would do of like just talking to guys. And then a lot of things that we worked on, once we weren't working together, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I worked on with Nikki. So it was like continuing that. So it didn't just stop. I don't think I would be the person I am if I was just like, okay, done with Nikki. But it was like taking what I learned from you and continuing with it. Like, I remember there were things that we would work together on, just talking to people, talking to guys, more out and about, being friendly. So going out, doing something you love on your own. And I had done things like that, but it was always more things I felt like safe with. So the one that we did together, going to that brew tour, or that you encouraged me to do, that really pushed me out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to say everything is easy, but I do think it's worth the work. And even when it feels like it isn't, or like, well, what's that? Like, what's that going to do? But then that's going to push you to the next step, which is going to push you to the next step. So, definitely I'd say if you're going to do this, just be willing to like go all in and put the work in, because it's definitely worth it. Just to say, I guess, first of all, that you're not alone. I know that I felt sometimes like the only person that was going through this. And again, why is this so hard for me? What am I missing? But just know you're not alone. And I know there's, in addition to me, like many other women who are in the same position. And I feel like, putting in the work, even though, like I said, I had so much fear, so much insecurity, like so bad, but pushing through it and doing the work is so worth it. And I honestly believe that gives you an advantage so much more than, people that haven't done the work. Like, you're going to grow so much in who you are, and just knowing yourself and like being the best version of yourself. So that in itself is a win. And then it's going to be able to give you the tools and the knowledge and, everything that you need to be able to get into an amazing relationship. And you're going to have that solid foundation that so many people that we look at sometimes and just think, oh, they have it all. Like, they got it together when they were, 20 years old and they're married and it was so easy for them. Maybe it was easier, but to me, it's worth it to have the weight and to put the work in, because you have such a solid foundation. So I would just say, know you're not alone in this. And if you're going to put the work in, it is going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it to yourself personally, to your life, and then to your relationship one day for sure. And then you're going to look back and be like, I'm so glad I did it. Like, there's nothing to lose to like put the work in. And you'll definitely see the results.